That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Hello and welcome to Content and Capable, a podcast all about following your passions while still feeling like a proper adult. My name's Sam and I'm your host. As the 2022 Australian election gets closer and closer, I spoke to David Cox, who runs Auspol Explained, all about his journey in educating people about politics. Welcome to Content and Capable, David. It's lovely to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I always like to kind of start with how I found the particular person that I'm speaking to, because I don't feel like it's right to keep my secrets on how I find guests for this podcast. And basically, I kind of stumbled onto your TikTok account and then found your YouTube account. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Just got to keep this in the back of my head for now and forever. And that's kind of what I did. I have chatted to you a couple of times over the last couple of months. And then I was like, you know what? The election's coming up. I wonder if I can speak to David about this. Do you want to kind of explain who you are and what your channel is, David?
Sure. So for those who have not yet approached me and for wisdom and guidance, basically what I do is I create this multimedia platform called Auspol Explained. So, it's TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, other places that you find podcasts, Facebook, no other social media. There is someone on Twitter who has like Auspol Explain, but not explained. And I'm like, look, they don't tweet enough for it to be a concern. But basically, it is a non-partisan, accessible, educational project all about explaining how the Australian political system works. That's it.
And why did you create Auspol Explained?
Well, during I think it could have been the 2019 federal election. Like, my friends are a bunch of nerds. So some of us, we get round, we have like an after election party. We watch ABC News Live, and it's not just exclusively for politics nerds, it's a social thing. Yeah. And a friend of mine, a 30-year-old man, asked me how voting worked. And I was like, you did do that today, right? And he's like, yeah. But like, how does it work? Like, he just rocked up, he just knew that he had to do it and just put numbers on a piece of paper. And it was like, that's weird. If someone tries to explain to me what I did, I'd be like, I don't know. I voted for this party, and then I guess I put other numbers elsewhere. And I was like, wow. Okay, so there's a problem here. And this is like, because I'm well known as the person whose hyperfixation is politics, I would get so many of the same questions again and again and again from all sorts of people on every corner of the internet that I existed on. And so I was like, there needs to be a resource. Like, if you Google how does such and such work what is the role of how is a prime minister different from the president? What's the role of the governor general? From very basic practical questions of how does voting work? What is preferential voting, down to if you want to learn more, because there's a lot to the system. And I just was like, there needs to be a resource that people can find and engage with and understand. So I made that resource.
It's interesting because you and I have kind of come from this place of privilege. I work as a journalist. You're really invested in politics. So we've had to know what all of these things are. And then every now and then you run into someone and they have no idea what's going on. For me at the moment, it's trying to educate my brothers on the political system, how to vote, the political candidates in my local area that we live in, and the things that they've been up to and the policies that they're supporting. And I'm like sitting here going, why am I don't know. I think we underestimate the amount of people whose idea of politics, especially in Australia, is you have to vote and that's about it.
Yeah. But also on top of that, I think there's a lot more than just understanding policy. Like, there's so many elements to engaging with politics. And there is also, if you don't understand how the system works, even if you understand the policies of every single party, you are still susceptible to misinformation. You're still susceptible to people like telling you that certain votes are not valuable or worthwhile.
Or certain rhetoric, like marketing rhetoric from political parties that make you believe that, I don't know, for example, off the top of my head, that a certain party is a better economic manager than another one when you've got to make that decision for yourself.
Yeah, as if the regular voter does not sit down every election and be like, okay, what was the most recent quarterly change in GDP? But also, like, as a concrete example, you could apply this to any minor party. But let's say the Greens, because they are the largest minor party there are, so therefore people talk about them the most often. They're like, people are like, well, don't vote for the Greens. They won't form a majority government, and they'll just take seats away from Labour. And that's not how it works. That's not how Parliament works, because the entire framework of thinking of it as all or nothing, who gets a majority in the House of Representatives, is like, have you heard of the Senate? Have you heard of the Senate? Have you heard of, the crossbench or the balance of power or amendments or, or private members bill, the fact that, or committees, there is so much that a minor party or an independent member can do, participate in, and like call for change, even if they are not a member of a majority party. And then on top of that, preferences. Your Greens, your One Nation, your UAP, they probably won't get a seat in the House of Representatives, with the exception of the Greens have Melbourne, which is actually one of the safest seats there is in all of the House of Representatives. And then it's like, they're just taking them away from Labour. It's like, well, actually, on a 2-candidate preferred basis, the seat of Melbourne, Liberals come second. The biggest swing against, the biggest swing towards the Greens last election was in Kooyong, a Liberal-held seat. And then, so say like the Greens get an extra 10% or 20% primary vote in a Labour seat.
Yeah.
But still, they don't get more than 50%. Well, statistically, most of their preferences, because that is the choice of the voters, go to Labour. If you don't understand how preferences work or how Parliament works and the fact that there are 2 chambers, you'd be like, well, Greens aren't going to win. I won't vote for them. Or One Nation's not going to win. I won't vote for them. The UAP won't win. I won't vote for them. And that is not an honest expression of your personal values. If you love a major party, sweet. Your life is easy. If you like a minor party or an independent, you've got all this misinformation from so many people about how Parliament works, and it's really discouraging.
It is really discouraging. And I think in the context of, this election where we have so much going on, like I haven't turned back up to my day job where I actually get paid since the election was called, because it's been that crazy. And I'm just like sitting here going, there is so much that's going on and so many things being said all at once. And it's like, I don't know. It's very fascinating because we also our political system is different to what the media represents. Our political system, think of big popular political TV shows, things like House of Cards, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. It's all very much based on this presidential democracy system instead of the representative democracy system that we use. And I think that it's so fascinating to see that then play out in people's perceptions on what matters and what doesn't matter in an election.
Oh, absolutely. We have so much pop culture and just social consciousness that's been influenced by American media because they produce the most media that we consume other than the BBC. And Oh my god. If I hear someone be like, freedom of speech, okay, the First Amendment, I'm like, no,
Oh no.
we don't have a Bill of Rights. Not to say that you don't have freedom of speech, you have the implied freedom of political communication, according to like the High Court in multiple cases in the 1990s, including one where the New Zealand Prime Minister sued the ABC. But who's going to sit down and read that? And yeah, so a lot of people treat like this election, they're treating it like it's a sort of like a presidential race between Scott Morrison as an individual and a character versus Anthony Albanese as an individual and a character. And collectively across the entire country, 1.2% of eligible voters will be casting a vote for either Anthony Albanese or Scott Morrison or their competitors, because unless you live in the division of Cook or division of Grainler, you're not voting for them. You're voting for a party. And a member of that party can have their own views. They can take into the concerns of their constituents and bring those concerns into the party room. And then, collectively, the party then decides how it will act. So if you have enough members of a certain party that are very passionate about a certain view, well, then that can override, say, a bunch of other members who have an opposing view. Like, we got to talk about, like, factions. So in the recent religious discrimination bill, for example, 5 liberal moderates were like, I think this bill is discriminatory. It is harmful towards trans kids and whatnot. And so they crossed the floor. That's a very drastic thing to do in a parliament.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, if those members had been like pre-selected or voted in by, like, you know, a more conservative constituency, conservative branch and members, then they wouldn't have crossed the floor. You know, they would have taken a different view to the party room. It would have influenced the party policy differently. Parties are made out of people. Sure, the leader can have influence and an impact, but really, like, look at the policies. Like, look at the policies.
And sometimes it's more interesting to speak to these, like, individual candidates. As a journalist, I have been collecting, I feel like it's like collecting Pokemon cards, collecting interviews with candidates around where I live. And, you know, it's great. You know, some of them are harder to track down than others. Some of them ask me why they want, you know, why I would even ask they wanted coverage, which is the most disheartening thing I've ever had to deal with. It's like, you deserve media coverage. You're running in a federal election. And it was just so, it's so fascinating to speak to these people and, like, think about the individual concerns that their constituents have and them reacting to them rather than the whole party politics thing that we see in this national narrative of, you know, obviously those leaders are held accountable for the actions that their candidates have, but, you know, it's not the be-all and the end-all, you know, these two people heading up against each other, especially while one's in isolation with COVID at the time.
Yeah. I mean, the leader definitely has, like, influence. Let's not entirely discount this or whatnot. But
no, yeah.
But, like, I mean, like, of course, there's also the concept of delegated power and, like, how do they respond? Because they can call certain things, like crisis responses. Like, they have delegated powers to be like, okay, this is now a crisis, or this is, like, you know, in case of a flood or whatnot. They're like, okay, that's a disaster zone. We've classified it as such, and therefore we can put certain resources or act in a certain way to respond to that. So, like, who is the leader is influential and important, but again, not the be all and end all, because, like, again, like Malcolm Turnbull was a good example of how you don't always get what you want. Because he was critical of the coalition's climate change policy. He's still critical of it. And when he became the leader, he was like, I think we should do more. And then, like, the right faction in the party was like, I don't think we should. And then collectively, as a party, enough people didn't agree with Malcolm Turnbull and his desire to change policy, and so they decided to have a leadership spill. So there is limits within the leader's power, effectively within a party decision. They do not have executive power like a president to be like, no, you're all wrong, we're doing this. But like, you know, they also then need to have the ability to convince other people to be like, okay, we should do this.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating, and you know, for anyone who's living outside of Australia and has not had their news feeds completely consumed by the political shenanigans that have been going on right now, this must be really confusing. But I don't know. As a quick background, Australia's having an election where I don't know. A lot of people are saying that this is going to be a point of large change, or I don't know how, in what way, we don't know because the election hasn't happened. But basically, you know, our parties, our political parties, so things like Labor, the Liberals, who are right-wing, not liberal like everywhere else in the world, Greens, the United Australia Party, One Nation, Katter's Australia Party, because I'm a Queenslander, I've got to like mention Katter at least once, let's be honest.
Yeah, but let's not spend any time on it.
No, we've got to keep swiftly moving on. Otherwise, if we spend too much time on it, he'll be summoned. He'll appear in this Zoom meeting.
Okay, but like I've recently been going through a bunch of different like policy pages just to like, you know, clue myself up on it, and it's just like, well, I can't vote for Katter's Australia Party because of, you know, Queensland, whatnot. Yeah. But I was like, what is his stance on like climate change? So I looked on his environmental policy page, and there's like 3 little like sub menus, and the middle one is just crocodiles.
He's like that Texan ranch owner who somehow became really savvy with like politics and now just turns up everywhere, and it kind of isn't scary, but like you're wary of him because you know that he's up to something.
Oh, he can be scary sometimes. Like the time that he dressed in the Grim Reaper outfit, or the time that like he chained himself to, I think, a railway or something. Or maybe a shovel. Like he was holding a shovel and he was like in a singlet and he was like jacked. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. But yeah, all these political parties, you know, are vying for our votes, and we only really vote for people to represent us in the House of Representatives. So one person to represent our local area, and then a number of senators. So in most states it's 6, and then in the territories it's 2. Which I find fascinating because it's the same number of House of Representative seats as in the Northern Territory. So you have like only 4 people representing the whole of the Northern Territory going to federal parliament, which I find fascinating. Anyway, and we then get a leader out of that. And basically the 2 top candidates at the moment are Scott Morrison with the Liberal Party, who are a little bit more right-wing, and then Anthony Albanese with the Labor Party, who are a little bit more left-wing. And then that's where political education like yours comes into account, David.
Thank you. That's me.
I know. I know. It's then like people have to decide, and they're like, well, how do I decide? And then it's like, oh, actually, we have plenty of resources. Here, take these resources. Well, we didn't before. And that's what we were talking about at the start when you said you realized that, you know, maybe we should be making content about this. Have you seen like a huge uptake in engagement since the election's been announced?
Yes. But also like I have just been on like full burner since the election happened. Like normally, because of work, I release 1 episode a month. And I think I've done like 5 in the past 3 weeks or something. One is like 2 were really short. Like just one was just an announcement, like it's happening, get ready, and another one is like time's running out, enroll to vote now, because democracy and Parliament should be as representative of the community as possible. And if like 600,000 people aren't enrolled to vote, that's 600,000 people whose voice is not being heard and does not get to shape the next 3 years. And then also like what reforms happen in those 3 years could be structural. So literally every election isn't just the next 3 years might be okay, and then we'll decide what will happen next. The next 3 years could have long-lasting effects for decades,
Yeah.
which
I don't
is
think we quite
terrifying for some people.
I know it's scary, and I don't think we quite understand that because our political terms are only 3 years in the federal parliament. It means that like we only think about the next 3 years, and we don't think about budgets are made out for tens of years in the future rather than the right here and right now.
Yeah, like for example, Scott Morrison's tax cuts that he took to the 2019 election, like this, they're referred to as the 3-stage tax cuts. So we've had our tax cuts to low income earners, and then middle income earners is stage 2, and then the more controversial element of it, to where it's to high income earners, doesn't actually come into effect until 2024.
And it's like, who knows what could happen, in the next year and a bit.
Yeah,
that's a bit scary. Yeah.
And then it's like projected to be, I can't remember. Like they do these things in like in the midterm or long term, which is like 4 or 10 years. So then that's like, I think it's 4 years, 5 years maybe, that they're like, okay, these cuts for income earners over 180,000 or 200,000 will decrease government revenue by $156 billion, which means that we will have to decrease government spending to GDP to like 23.9% or something, which you're like, wow, interesting numbers there, David. But this does mean that Morrison has effectively baked in a structural need for decline in government funding to public services by 2029 to 2030. Sorry, 20, yeah.
2030.
Sorry. A reduction in government spending on public services by 2029 to 2030. So like that's the kind of thing. Like you're like, but that's 10 years away from the 2019 election when he promised that. It's like, okay, like these sorts of things are like long term. Like, how do you want to think about like structural spending? What is the long term outlook of government services? Not everyone agrees on like whether like funding should be increased or decreased. So, some people might hear that and they'd be like, oh, sweet, I want less government spending. Or some people might be like, I feel like a particular service that is important to me is not properly funded right now. And this creates like a future choice where the government has to choose to fund the thing that I want properly or not fund something else properly, which might be, cutting waste or making it less efficient. And this is an ongoing thing. This is like a structural thing. So like decisions of this federal election aren't about tax because that's done. The 2019 election determined what the tax brackets are going to be for the next 10 years, effectively, because Labor...
we're stuck with it now.
Yeah, Labor passed it, and they have no plans. You look at the Liberal policy page, and it's all like, Labor, scary tax, and it's like... Then you look at the Labor policy page, and it's like, we support the tax cuts that we passed, that we voted for. We're standing by the thing we literally did in Parliament. And so, so tax cuts, tax and whatnot, that's not an issue. That's no longer an issue. That's a complete non-issue unless you vote Greens and you're like, I want more tax for billionaires. Like that's your decision as a... there might be other minor parties out there that want more taxes. I haven't quite gotten through all the list yet. So I've made
I think most of like the tax alternative stuff at the moment is coming in subsidies and stuff, and I've definitely seen that and talked as well. Especially a lot of the mining adjacent people in politics at the moment are really loving their mining subsidies coming back, which will be a fun one to discuss at some stage.
Yes.
But
the major structural issue that everyone is quite likely thinking about, if this is of concern to them, is climate change, effectively.
Yeah.
Because, things are structural, and what policies do we want to put in place over the next 3 years to affect the next 10?
Yeah. It's fascinating because we are like the election almost like hinges on one or two issues each time. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about tax in the last election because we had to make these reforms to our taxation system. But then, this one is a lot more about climate change and social justice and these other topics that weren't addressed because we focus so much on reforms to these boring things like tax. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, climate change has always been an issue since 1960s, but it's growing. I think we've really seen that. Someone's
We've
been
seen politicians have to answer these hard questions about it all.
Yeah, it's always been for the past 20, 30 years, someone's been drumming a little drum in the distance and just getting closer and closer, and then more people drumming. And it's just, we can't tune it out now. We have Climate 200 who's funding a bunch of climate-focused independents. And polling shows that some of them could very much win. The deputy leader of the deputy leader of the Liberal Party, Josh Frydenberg, his main competition in Kooyong is not a Greens member. Last election it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I was on Twitter, which was a mistake at the moment.
Don't do that ever. Quit Twitter.
Yeah. It's interesting. My Twitter is half politics and the other half is Percy Jackson at the moment, where it's just because they announced the new Percy Jackson film, and I think my podcast socials is mostly clear of the politics stuff, but you get you turn around and you go, okay, there's a tweet talking about how bad this particular party is. Oh, look, here's a tweet about how cute the new Percy Jackson's going to be. It's very jarring. But I was on there this afternoon just before we recorded, finding some gems for tomorrow to show some of my friends in the newsroom, and the hashtag It's on in Kooyong was up, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a fun one to watch. There's going to be a lot there. And they have to really justify why they should be re-elected into these seats. Josh Frydenberg as the deputy leader isn't guaranteed in keeping his seat.
Oh no, he's in a marginal seat. Anything less than 6% is marginal, and he's on a margin of 5.4 or 5.6 or something. But I just want to remind everyone, no politician is guaranteed re-election. None. Absolutely none. Yeah. Every single time. Some people, statistically, a lot better chances than other people. The seat of Melbourne was a Labor-held seat for 100 years. More than 100 years. It's now one of the safest seats in all of the House of Representatives, and it's a Green seat. So in that instance, they did take it away from Labor. Wentworth, when it fell to Karen Phelps, ever since the Liberal Party had been formed in 1945, the 40s, it had never been lost by the Liberal Party. There was a point where someone quit and became an independent, and then immediately then lost the election to the replacement Liberal, and that was the seat of a prime minister. John Howard had been in Parliament. He had been in Parliament since 1972 or 74 or something. He had been there forever, baked in, and the person before him also had 20, 30 years in that seat. And then he lost a prime minister, the second prime minister in all of Australian history, to lose their seat at an election. Tony Abbott had a swing of something 16% against him when he lost his seat. There are almost no seats that have a 16% margin. Almost none.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I think it goes to show how not it does like our electoral system is not perfect, let's be honest, but how powerful our electoral system is in the fact that we can, make these changes if there is enough people pushing behind it. I know there's been a lot of talk, especially among I don't like saying mainstream media because it feels
mainstream media.
It feels very anti-vax, which is something that I've been trying to avoid recently. But, there are a lot of talks in commercial media at the moment about, the rising young voters. We obviously had this huge push to enroll young voters to be eligible to vote in this year's election and, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. But it's just so fascinating that we do have the power to change if we want to. And if we as a society decide, nah, the person who's sitting in our seat isn't fit for office anymore, we can just make that decision by a flick of a switch and go, nah, I'm going to vote for someone else.
Yeah. Before, not all these people enrolled to vote, unfortunately, but the amount of 18 to 24-year-olds that weren't enrolled to vote nationally, a month before the election, if you averaged them out amongst every single seat, that would be about 2,000 people. And there were I think 5 seats or something that had a margin of less than 2,000. Something like that. There have been tighter margins than exist currently. It was possible that literally the young people that enrolled to vote before the cutoff in the past couple of months, they could be the ones whose casting vote decides a seat, and 3 out of the past 4 elections have effectively boiled down to 1 or 2 seats.
We've had closer and closer elections and closer and closer calls, and even longer waits for who won the election.
Anne Ali, this is going to be a great story. Anne Ali, the Labour member for Cowan, she has to wait 2 weeks every single time to find out if she won. She's this because her margin is less than 1%, and last election it took her 2 weeks or a little bit more longer, and she grew her margin by 0.2% or something, and it still took forever. But just a fun fact, Cowan is named after Edith Cowan, who 101 years ago was the first ever woman elected to any parliament in Australia. One of the first women in the world, I think second or third in the British Empire, to be elected to a parliament. And she won by 46 votes.
This just amazing.
This massive milestone. She's on the $50 note. This massive milestone, this trailblazer for women and equality and equal rights, who introduced a private members bill that gave women the right to have so many more professions that they didn't have before. It was you can't discriminate on women based on their gender, or whether they want to have this job. They could become lawyers in the 20s thanks to Edith Cowan. And if if we divide that 46, 23, so if 24 people had decided, nah, I want to vote for a man instead, she would have lost. And all of that would have disappeared from history. She beat a minister.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. And, I think if anyone was losing interest in politics or was really, really struggling with, going, why should I be invested in who I vote for? It's well, no, because there are people out there who are really making a difference, who have the potential to change a lot as well. And we just got to believe in these people, or, do our investigation, realize that they're making the change that we want to see in the world, and go, yeah, I'm going to put my vote behind that person.
I think...
And then getting your preferences right as well. That's a hard one that I haven't even figured out yet.
I know preferences sound overwhelming. I gotta have an opinion of all these people. I recommend think of at least 3. Just this is the party I like the most. If that's a minor party, think of the major party that you like the most. At the very least, consider that. Because even if you're like, well, I really like this minor party and independent, and I know they won't win or whatever, I will still put them first. And then you think of the best major party that you want, and you put them second or third.
Yeah.
But also, don't think that this just applies to minor parties, minor party voters, because like Karen Phelps, she had less first preference votes than Dave Sharma.
Yeah.
But preference flows went to her, and so she won. So like, even if you vote for like Labour or Liberal, consider the possibility that Labour or Liberal will not win this seat. Maybe statistically unlikely, but it happens. There are several independents in the House of Representatives. They do a lot better in the Senate, but they're still in the House of Representatives. And so, everyone should be like, okay, even if I like if you're a minor party voter, you'd be like, okay, but who would I prefer to be in government if this minor party or independent doesn't win? And if you're a major party voter, think, okay, if this party forms government, what minor party or independent do I want potentially supporting them? Preferences.
Yeah,
so just
100%. Yeah.
You don't need to have a detailed opinion about 10 people and worry too much about who is the absolute worst to put at the bottom. But if it's overwhelming, at least think about three. Think about three, and be like, okay. And then just sort of
I always
get a vibe
think that like
about the
it
rest.
comes down to like the way that like, even if you're like, okay, like let's just move the analogy away from politics and into like talking about your favorite movies. It's like, okay, you have this group of 6 movies and you've got to pick your top pick for the time. You don't go and just pick, okay, this one's my favorite. You probably like have a group of 2 or 3 of them that you're like, well, these are like my group of favorites out of these. And then you've got to pick one on top. That's kind of the way I look at like looking at voting for these kinds of things as well. It's like, there's a group of, people that I really want to represent me. And then I've just got to pick the one that most represents me and then take that down to who least represents me.
Yeah. Like, pretty much. That's what preferences are. You're literally just voicing an opinion. I think, I start off in like, think about the structural things that'll affect you for 10 years or more. But also then like, what is your opinion though? Because that's what voting is. It's like, well, I like this party the most. I like this party the second most. I like this one the third. I hate this one so much, they're going last. And it's an emotionally cathartic experience. You'd be like, yeah, boo, take that one person I don't like. But please don't be solely motivated on hate, like, because politicians are capable of positive change and helping you. You're like, I think there's lots of disengagement and cynicism about that. But genuinely, you should consider the possibility of what good can they do. Because, fun fact, surprise, this is going to blow some people's minds. Politicians actually care. So many of them genuinely do. It's just that there's this disconnect, right? Where their idea of what is good and right and helpful for the community might not be your idea of what is good and right for the community. Like, they're not cartoon villains who come in and be like, whose life shall we ruin today? They're just like, maybe they have some prejudices and biases that make them think that the solution is effectively, in your opinion, punitive. And therefore it is your right and prerogative to look at alternatives and be like, okay, well, I think their idea of how society should be is damaging. I will support someone whose idea of society is uplifting.
I think this is where my problem with the whole like yelling at people on Twitter comes from as well. It's like, yes, you can be mad at someone for something, and yes, voicing your frustrations probably is also valid, but voice your frustrations at the ballot box, maybe inform people that something has happened that you don't think is right, but, you can only make the change if you vote in the election and you vote the way that, you feel like, will represent the change that you want to see. And I think that there is this fundamental disconnect between what people feel and what they do in the ballot box as well. And we keep seeing this with disengagement in voting and politics in general.
But also, like, on top of that, about like people arguing on the internet, I really want people to engage more in positivity.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like if you just say, "Oh, Party A sucks. Party A sucks. Party A doesn't do this. They don't do that. They don't care about this." Well, you've just created like this very negative. You've just created a problem in someone's head.
Yeah.
Like it could be 100% accurate, but that doesn't drive engagement because you haven't offered a solution.
100%.
So there is definitely a mix. It's not valueless to be like, okay, well, I hate this party because of XYZ, or I dislike this party because of XYZ. If you don't want to feel that strongly, but also like, well, someone's going to get in. Someone's going to form government. Someone's going to be on the crossbench. Someone's going to be introducing bills or debating, putting forward amendments. Someone's going to be voting for you for potentially 3 years, or if they're a senator, 6. So what's good? When you say Party A sucks, well, what does Party B offer? What does Party C offer? What gives you hope? What makes you interested in voting other than I have to do it? And I think that's far more constructive in arguments, and I want people to do that. Anyone listening right now, I want you to, whenever you next have an opportunity with someone who disagrees with you, or is not very politically engaged or aware of things, have a discussion. Have a discussion, but like a gentle one. And talk to them, ask them questions. Don't just accuse them of like, you support Party A or B because you're racist or whatever, or you hate poor people or whatever. Like, ask them what their concerns are.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, but why do you think, this party will fix it? And then also counter with, well, I think this other party has a better solution. Yeah. I think that's way more productive, and we absolutely should do that.
There is this, and unfortunately, there is this trend that there are people out there like you who do try to change it, but there is this trend of, attacking people and not really just engaging in discussion, going, well, what is happening here? Can you explain, what your party believes in? Okay, well, I think that this is better because it's more like, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, and no justification behind, what you're doing and why you've chosen to do something like that. It's very fascinating in my eyes, because not that it's a good thing, but it's just some social phenomenon where we've been taught to be mad at everyone for their viewpoints.
I mean, that's what Twitter is. It's just a place to be mad. Have you ever gone on Twitter to tell people good news?
No, actually.
Exactly. You go on Twitter to be like, oh, this terrible thing happened. This is my online journal where I'm allowed to be mad. Like, I go on Twitter and I am just following more cat and dog and Pokemon related things just as much as I can. And then the trending page and then people's likes. Twitter is just forcing sadness upon me, and it gets engagement. Or, like political attack ads are a central feature of a campaign. Like, we can't deny their value. But
them on Twitter, or like, people attacking each other, being their own political attack ads on Twitter, it's just, sometimes it's exhausting. You've got to be in the right headspace to be on political Twitter.
Yeah, but it's also, we also got to like remember like the emotional catharsis of complaining, like, is a very valid response. Like, like 100%, it's difficult. Like, if you have an issue with a political party who makes rules that impact you, your life, everyone you know, and is putting in place structural reforms that impact you, your life, everyone you know, it is very justifiably, something that you can get mad about. And if other people don't see or understand that can be very frustrating. And so it is. Yeah. It's not that this is not helpful or bad all the time.
Yeah.
It's just anger and frustration is an emotional response. It's a tool for debates, but also on top of that, being able to have a calm discussion about something that is, in your view, abjectly horrible is a skill that needs to be practiced. And I don't think a lot of people approach politics as a skill that needs to be honed. Like, there is are you switched on or do you not care? And then people sort of think that that's like the binary. They're like, okay, well, I'm really passionate about this and other people aren't. They should be and haven't practiced the skill of discussion and instead, effectively yell at people and alienate people because they're like, well, it's morally right, the point of view that I have, and why can't you see how terrible this is? And it's like, well, you are right, but you also got to factor in psychology of how people respond to certain things. So I really encourage you to practice discussion, not debate. We're not like Ben Shapiro, being like, haha, this is a point scoring match, and I'm gonna. What if I say this? Gotcha, owned.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah, discussion, not debate.
Debate needs a winner. A discussion doesn't. You can have a discussion and still fundamentally disagree with someone, and it frustrates me that it's not even like. My brothers do it all the time with me. They're like, I want to win this debate. And I'm like, can't we just have a discussion about it and understand that we're going to fundamentally disagree on something? Like, that is totally valid. But somehow, somewhere along the way, we've been taught, no, we must win or we must lose this fight, quote unquote.
Because, in an election, there is a winner and a loser. And every discussion or debate or argument you have contributes in some way, ultimately, to, even if, the tiniest little drop in the ocean, that could be part of, someone's social consciousness or thought process when it comes to politics. And it's just about, if more people have this discussion or argument, potentially they could swing opinions, they could swing votes. And so it does become there is an end goal and there is a winner, but it's a really abstract long-term thing where eventually it'll have a tangible result every 3 years, maybe. And that becomes exhausting. But this whole attitude that people have towards debate versus discussion is just another way that we have generated political disengagement. Because, as you said, is exhausting. It is exhausting. I don't want to argue with people all the time. No one wants to go on the internet and argue all the time. That sucks. And so, what we really...
I always feel like the election campaign is the sprint section of a marathon. You've got to really pace yourself. And even then, it's, this election campaign is 6 weeks. That is a long time to be dedicating to yourself to a set of particular issues and arguing them for 6 weeks straight and communicating them to the public. It's just hard. And you've got to understand that, I don't know, the media's obsession with people slipping up on numbers in the first week of the campaign is just a little stupid because...
Oh, absolutely.
It's just fucking hell. Just calm your farms a little bit. No one cares.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. Adam Bandt put it best, and not to say that Adam Bandt's better politically than anyone else, but he definitely put it best when he said, Google it, mate. Anyway, I could talk for forever about people remembering statistics.
Oh, absolutely. It's also absurd to treat Anthony Albanese as if he's going to be the treasurer who has to know these things. And it's also absurd to think that the treasurer won't have a team and an organization who gives them reports. This is a structure. This is an organization. You are not voting for Superman who knows all the things. You are voting for someone who you think will work well as a team with experts. But yeah, just wanted to little final note about like the debate discussion thing and political disengagement. I think what like a way that we could fix political disengagement and by getting better with discussion is just that practice, because the very important thing is, you know, you are effectively a source of information and opinion, and you shape the world around you as people shape your views of the world. And it's not just like what a politician said on TV that made a good soundbite. Like if someone's just not going to think of politicians as trustworthy, they're not going to listen anyway. And, you know, there's also, you know, there's the media that they consume or don't consume. Like a lot of people are like, oh, what is this party offering me? Well, they haven't bothered to look. And so like, really, actually, your opinion is very valuable. Like if a friend of you says, oh, I don't like this business because, you know, blah, 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 you know, but they have like what, 4-star reviews on Google, but your friend didn't like them. And you're like, like that personal recommendation has weight. And
definitely.
If we can find like collectively a better way to engage with other people, I think like we will be better at putting change. Like it's really just about convincing minds. It's about the opinions of the public and the community at large, and we are all interconnected in this grand little society. Not to sound like, ooh, like a little hippy dippy here, but we are all connected. Like we are.
Yeah.
You know, we've all got these points of connections. Like if you can convince 2 people to change their vote, maybe those 2 people convince 2 people, and so on and so on. But you know, you'll lose people along the way. Like maybe one person will only convert one person won't convert any, but like it branches out. Like you are not just one person being like, I wish I could change this 8% margin, but I'm just one vote. No, like people form their opinions based off a complex series of interactions with people that they trust or know, or they learn things because of the people around them, and therefore then relay that information. So political disengagement to be like, oh, it doesn't change. Well, you haven't made it change.
No, 100%. And like the whole discussion around, and we said this so many times in this episode, you can be the change you want to see in the world. We should be talking more about politics. We should be talking about more about who we're voting for. If you're undecided who you're liking at the moment and going, well, I'm actually really liking what this candidate's been doing recently, or, you know, I'm actually not sure about this candidate. Have you heard anything from this candidate yet? We do this all the time in the newsroom, where we sit down and we go, well, what have the minor parties have been up to? And like someone turns around and goes, well, actually, I've got a really, really great connection with this party. This is what they've been up to. Let's talk about that. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that, because we haven't been able to. And it's just really, really amazing. On a final note, you mentioned that you've got a day job.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain to people, I think it's the most amazing day job ever, but and what your day job is?
Oh, I work in Parliament House of Western Australia.
I know, it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I work in the education department, and I teach people how the political system works. It is not in any, I must note, it is not in any way affiliated or associated with Auspol Explained. The two are completely separate entities. But I did put my YouTube channel on my cover letter and did bring it up in the interview. Like, they are aware that I do it. Like, I got asked just today by someone, being like, you still doing YouTube? I'm like, yeah, I am. It's like, I literally got so passionate about teaching people how politics works, so they'll understand and engage and be like, oh, okay, this is how it works.
Yeah.
This is how I can engage with it. It's more interesting. It's been demystified, and therefore like feel more confident to just like go out and learn themselves. Yeah, I just was so interested in that it earned me a job at the place that I'm like, yes.
I think it's the most amazing thing, because you know, really following your passions, and, you know, I do love the whole, we don't want to be partisan. Like, it's very hard to not be partisan, but when you work in a place where you have to interact with every single side of politics all at once, I feel like it's the closest you get to being non-partisan that you can. And it's just, I don't know, I find it very fascinating. And I think it really adds to the great insights that you do have on our political system here in Australia.
Oh yeah, it's great. It also helps me learn a lot more about like how Parliament works and become a better like teacher and educator. But also like having a close, not like it's not like I had become friends with the politicians or whatever, but like seeing it in person and being in a space where these people inhabit, you get like a better understanding and demystifying it. Like I feel like to some people, politicians are like celebrities in that they inhabit this otherworldly space. You're like, oh, like there's the general population, and then there's like this extra tier for important people. And they're literally just people. Like they literally just are. They're flawed. They're they have all sorts of opinions. They want to do something. Their job is effectively just a really complicated, time-consuming office job. And also a thing that I really want to impart upon people is that they don't know everything. Like they're not experts. They bring in experts. They form committees where they ask the community. They're like, okay, but what would happen if we did this? Is this a good idea? And just honestly, email your local member. Email them to be like, can you help me understand this? Or, can you help me with this? And sometimes it doesn't even sometimes it doesn't even require a change of law. Sometimes they can just be like, oh yeah, we can totally direct you to like this resource or like thing that will help you in some way. It's fascinating to be like, but it also really helps me. Like I was never a conspiracy person before, but like, how like the grand conspiracy that's like, they're all working together, like the grand Illuminati or whatever, like the world government, they're all like conspiring to control our lives. And like, buddy, they can't even get along together. Like, I know, have you heard of factional party politics? Like, there's 95 people just in like the West Australian state parliament. There's whatever 151 plus 76 is in like the federal parliament.
Yeah, it's like 227.
Yes, they don't all get along. They're not.
No.
When you do group assignments with 4 people, it becomes a problem. You're doing a group assignment with like 90 people, 100 people. That's what
assignment. Oh, I love that analogy. The fucking the group assignment doesn't work with 4 people. How do you expect it to happen with 227?
Yeah, so I really encourage people not to like switch off once they've cast their ballot, because literally their job is to represent the community. Yeah. And if they don't have community input, they do a bad job.
Yeah.
Like that's just true. Like imagine like being like, okay, you're now the executive assistant to such and such, and then they give you the key to the office door and walk away, and you're like, what's such and such? What's your roles? Like you can only do so much before you have to like ask someone, where do I send this report? What do I write this report on? Like I'm sure we've all been in situations where we don't know what we're doing unless we ask someone. That's a politician's job every single day. So stay involved. Email your members. Keep up on things. Be part of it.
And thank you so much for coming on the podcast, David. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Is there just to recap? We mentioned it at the start. But where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, you can look me up on Auspol Explained. So that's AUSPOL. So, Australian Politics Explained on TikTok and YouTube are the main platforms. For the sake of accessibility purposes, sorry, just a second. For the sake of accessibility purposes, all the YouTube videos, all the information is in the audio. So if there is anything visual, like there's no text that is important that isn't like referenced in the audio. Like I'm not like, which really means that if I have to clarify something, I have to record extra narration because I can't just put it as text on screen. So it doubles as a podcast. If looking at a YouTube video is not your thing, you can find Auspol Explained as a podcast on various different platforms as well and learn the exact same information while driving or doing the dishes. And also there is a Facebook.
Yeah. And has there been any media that you've been consuming this week that you wanted to plug? Video, audio, game, whatever?
Outside of myself?
Yeah.
What have I been? Policy Pages is literally sorry. I was like, what have I actually looked at in the past week? The answer is Policy Pages and graphs about taxes to GDP ratios.
Yeah. It becomes like a little bit all consuming. Like I think the most visited website on my search history at the moment is the ABC's like homepage.
Oh yeah.
Because I just go
three quick things. When you look into tax to GDP ratios, it's a confusing thing that you'd have to take time to look into. But something that I found really actually kind of funny on the Liberal policy page on taxes is they said, we want to put a speed limit on taxes and make sure they don't get above 23.9% GDP. Taxes in the past 50 years have only been higher than 23.9% GDP ratio 3 times under John Howard, the highest taxing government in the past 50 years. So I think that's a very deliverable promise from Scott Morrison to not become the highest taxing government of the past 50 years. So shout out to that as a piece of media I've been consuming. But also like the AEC, everyone, aec.gov.au, bookmark it, look it up. It is fantastic. It'll answer everything you have to do about voting, except for what are these parties' policies, because they are a completely neutral institute. And they will not answer that kind of question. If you're moving interstate, if you're sick on election day, like all these sorts of things, they have the answers. The aec.gov.au, it's so good. It's your friend. Cannot recommend it enough. Followed by Lego Masters, wholesome and fun, and a great way to relieve the stress after spending 5 hours reading the most baffling policy pages out there.
Who hosts the Lego Masters? Is it Hamish or Andy?
It's Hamish.
Hamish, okay, awesome.
Right, yeah. Hamish Blake, yes. Hamish Blake. Yeah. He's such a good host. He's so nice.
It's so fun to watch. Like, I remember watching it when I was still living at home with my little brothers who are obsessed with Lego, and it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. And it was like the first time I watched commercial TV in a long time, because I just sit here and end up on TikTok for a long time. Well, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at sam.the.journalist and on Twitter at samobjournalist. Most of my Twitter posts at the moment are like hot takes of random thoughts in my head. I think my last tweet was this afternoon, which you can really date this, which was talking about free speech. I need to add an addendum that in Australia we don't have like a Bill of Rights, but because I completely just escaped my mind that because I was just thinking about stuff that's been happening in the US recently. And this week I'm actually going to plug the AEC on Twitter. So that's the Australian Electoral Commission. definitely check them out. They are the best. I love the Australian Electoral Commission, and they're just always willing to reply to things on Twitter. And it's a lot of fun to watch sometimes. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, David. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
And having me passionately talk to you about why everyone should vote. Do it.
Yeah, vote, definitely, because it's a legal right. Not a legal right, it's a legal requirement.
It's a legal requirement. You actually have to.
Yeah.
I argue that you should do it anyway because it's important and good, but also, like, you have to.
You also get a sausage. Like,
yeah.
Come on. I think the value is in the sausage.
Very much. And those sausages are cooked by community groups. Like, you're raising funds for you're not raising funds for political parties. You're doing a good thing, and you get a sausage. And there is also places that do veggie sausages, because I'm a vegetarian, and I have enjoyed a good vegetarian sausage for the past few elections. It is rewarding and nice.
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. You can follow the podcast socials at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram and Twitter. You can send a super boring email to us through contentandcapablepod@gmail.com. The art was done by Opia. You can follow them on Opia_art on Instagram. Opia is spelled OPIA. Feel free to message them about making art for your project. Our music was written, recorded, and edited by Nora Strauss-Riggs. You can find Nora at Kane_I, that's I as in the body part, on Instagram and Twitter. Feel free to message her about making music for your project or editing your podcast. I'm proud to be a part of the Movie Night Crew Network, which features the Restricted section, a chapter-by-chapter Harry Potter pod with lots of spoilers all the time. The Movie Night Crew joins some friends as they react to some terrible, some meh, and some really great movies. Fandom's Gone Wrong, a show that discusses all things fandoms. Of the Eldest Gods, a chapter-by-chapter Rick Riordan pod full of myths and legends. And My Cabbages, an Avatar podcast that follows the true hero of Avatar The Last Airbender, the Cabbage Cart Guy.
Coffee, tea, honor, cabbage. Long ago, the four elements lived in harmony. Then, shit went totally cray when the Avatar attacked. Only the Cabbage Man, merchant of fine cruciferous vegetables, could stand against his trolling. But when the world needed some dank veg, he vanished. 10 years have passed, and my partner and I have started a new podcast.
My Cabbages! An Avatar podcast.
A weekly show about Avatar The Last Airbender. Whether it's Sokka's new line of cologne...
Hey, look at you. Sitting there on a seal. Well, now look back at me. I'm on an even bigger seal. Now look away.
D&D related antics.
You have to make an acrobatics check for that. And Aang just, like, unzips his pants and whips out his D20s. He's just like, I got this.
Or randomly breaking into song.
Go bending waterfall.
We'll stumble our way through the greatest show ever made, one episode at a time.
You can reach us at CabbageCast, which is our Twitter, or
Subscribe wherever you catch pod.
Rotten cabbages? What kind of slum do you think this is?
Content and Capable is a podcast all about answering the question, how do you adult? Don't forget to rate and review it on your favourite podcatcher, and I will see you next Monday for another episode.
That movie sucked. I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
I think that's slightly out of sync, but whatever. Close enough.
It doesn't really matter. The close enough it is, it's always a good guide, and it means that I'm not running around like a crazy person going, did that sync up properly, or is it,
Yeah.
or am I just stupid? Awesome. Well,
I mean, we could
welcome
try
to-
saying hello in unison just to make your life harder. 1, 2,
My friend-
3, hello.
Hello?
Wow, lag. You're not doing it. Whatever. Look, this is a problem for you in the future. So,